never does watch me perform. He's never seen me perform. He's been married for 10 years. 50 years of silence. The most enigmatic man in the entertainment industry, the husband who has never stepped onto a red carpet, never appeared alongside his wife in public. Carl Dean has finally spoken. The world has speculated for decades, does he even exist, or is he merely a phantom in Dolly Parton's love story? Some have claimed they divorced long ago. Others insist they were never truly in love. Some even believe Carl is nothing more than a fictional character invented by Dolly to shield her private life from prying eyes. But now, after more than half a century of seclusion, why has Carl Dean chosen this exact moment to break his silence? Could the truth be far from what we've always assumed, or will his words upend everything we thought we knew about this marriage? For the first time in history, the greatest secret of Dolly Parton's life will be revealed. Are you ready to hear the truth? Part 1, The Ghost in Dolly's Love Story. Who is Carl Dean? When people think of Dolly Parton, they picture a dazzling woman in sparkling outfits, a powerful voice, and a warm, radiant smile. For decades, she has been more than just a music icon. She is a symbol of kindness, resilience, and unwavering dedication. But behind all the glitz and glamour, there has always been one man standing quietly in the background, loving her from the shadows, Carl Dean. Carl Dean, the most elusive figure in the entertainment world, has spent his entire life avoiding the spotlight. Despite being married to one of the greatest stars of all time, he has chosen a path of solitude, one that starkly contrasts with his wife's fame. What made him decide to live this way? And, more importantly, how has their relationship remained unshakable for over 50 years in an industry where love is often swept away by temptation and pressure? Dolly Parton and Carl Dean's love story began on an ordinary day, yet it became one of the most defining moments of their lives. It was 1964. Dolly, at 18, had just left her Tennessee hometown to chase her musical dreams in Nashville. Carl, a 21-year-old road construction worker, had no interest in the entertainment industry. They met outside the wishy-washy laundromat in Nashville, a place far from romantic or glamorous. But sometimes, love doesn't need a picture-perfect setting to begin. When Carl saw Dolly, he was instantly captivated. And the most surprising thing? Though the world would soon know her name, at that moment, Carl Dean saw only a young woman with sparkling eyes and a smile that made his heart race. "I knew right then and there that I was going to marry her," Carl once recalled. They talked, laughed, and instantly felt a deep connection. But for Dolly, life at that time was all about music and ambition. She never imagined that this man would become her lifelong partner. 2 years after their fateful meeting, Dolly and Carl married in 1966 in a simple ceremony in Ringgold, Georgia. There was no grand celebration, no guest list filled with celebrities, no cameras flashing, just two people in love. From that moment, Carl Dean made a choice that baffled many. He completely distanced himself from his wife's world of fame. While Dolly Parton graced television screens, toured across the globe, and became one of the most influential artists in country music, Carl remained almost invisible, never appearing by her side at public events. This decision sparked endless curiosity. Why would a man willingly step away from the limelight his wife could have shared with him? Did he not support her career? Or was there something even more mysterious at play? But the truth was far simpler. Carl Dean loved Dolly Parton, but he did not love the life of a celebrity. Carl was a man who cherished simplicity. He found happiness in the quiet comforts of home, away from the noise and attention. He was content supporting his wife from behind the scenes, never feeling overshadowed by her fame. In his eyes, Dolly was not a superstar, she was his wife, the woman he adored. In an industry where relationships crumble under the weight of fame, fortune, and temptation, their love story is a rare exception. For over 5 decades, they have weathered countless storms together. Carl has never attended Dolly's major public events, yet he has always been the first to hear her new songs. While she was on the road touring, he wrote her letters, reminding her that no matter where she went, there was always a home waiting for her. Dolly Parton once shared that the secret to their lasting marriage is respecting each other's personal space. "I have my career, he has his life, and that keeps things exciting for us," she said in an interview. She even joked that their marriage has lasted so long because they aren't together 24/7. "Maybe that's why we never fight." Rumors have always surrounded their marriage. Some claimed Carl Dean wasn't real since he was never seen in public. Others doubted their relationship because of their drastically different lifestyles. But no matter what the world said, they remained steadfast. Carl never sought fame. He was never tempted by Hollywood's glitz, nor did he envy his wife's success. Instead, he stood by her side, a silent force of support, ensuring she could shine as brightly as she was meant to. Dolly once said that Carl never tried to change her, nor did he ever make her feel guilty for chasing her dreams. "He loves me for who I am, not for who the world thinks I am," she said. To this day, they still take drives together like they did in their youth, laugh at silly jokes, and cherish the quiet, simple moments of life. Carl Dean is proof that love doesn't need public validation to be real. While the world may still wonder about him, to Dolly, he has never been a mystery, he has always been her everything. There may never be another love story like theirs, a star who shines the brightest and a man who chooses to remain unseen. Part 2, the moment we've been waiting for. Why is Carl speaking now? Carl Dean, the man who has spent over half a century by Dolly Parton's side without ever stepping onto a stage with her, granting interviews, or even allowing the press to capture the rare moments they longed for. He has always been the man in the shadows, quietly yet steadfastly letting his wife shine. But then, the unthinkable happened. After decades of silence, Carl Dean has decided to speak. So what has changed? Why did he choose this moment to finally let the world hear his voice? For more than 50 years, Carl Dean has honored the promise he made when he married Dolly Parton in 1966, "I will always love you, but don't ask me to be in the public eye." That promise became the guiding principle of his life, an unshakable rule. But the world has changed, and perhaps Carl Dean has too. As the years go by, people begin to see things differently. Some things need to be said before it's too late. For years, rumors about their relationship have swirled. Some have claimed Carl Dean is nothing more than a fictional character Dolly invented to protect her privacy. Others insisted he left her long ago and they've only pretended to maintain the image of a perfect marriage. Some even speculated that they lived such separate lives that Carl wasn't even aware of his wife's recent successes. And that is exactly why Carl Dean has spoken up, not for fame, not under media pressure, but because he wants to set the record straight. "I have spent my life loving one woman, and I want the world to know that love has never changed." Their very reclusiveness has been one of the key factors in the enduring strength of their love for over half a century. So, what is their real secret? How has a relationship that appears to be one-sided in the public eye not only survived, but thrived? Here's an interesting fact: since their marriage in 1966, Carl Dean has never attended a single event related to Dolly Parton's career. No award shows, no concerts, no red carpets, no press conferences, nothing at all. For many famous couples, this might be seen as a sign of trouble, but for Dolly and Carl, it was an unspoken agreement between them. Dolly would shine in the public eye, while Carl would be her quiet sanctuary behind the scenes. She would chase the brilliance of her career, while he would protect their private world from the chaos of Hollywood. Dolly Parton once shared that from the very beginning, Carl Dean was upfront with her, "I love you, but don't expect me to become a public figure." And she respected that. When asked whether she ever felt sad that her husband wasn't there to share the big moments of her career, Dolly simply laughed and said, "Not at all. He supports me in his own way, and I don't need a husband to stand on stage with me, I need a husband who will stand by me for life." Fame comes with its own challenges, and for a star as big as Dolly Parton, those challenges have been even more intense. Over the past 50 years, the couple has faced countless rumors that Dolly was romantically involved with her fellow musicians, that Carl had been unfaithful because his wife was too busy, that they were no longer together and only keeping up appearances, or even that Carl was merely a fictional character Dolly had made up to deflect questions about her personal life. both of them chose to respond to these rumors with silence and understanding. Carl never cared about what the tabloids wrote, and Dolly knew that no explanation could ever be more convincing than their marriage itself. "I've heard hundreds of rumors about my husband, and I bet he hasn't paid attention to a single one," Dolly once said. And though Dolly Parton is known for her humor, she has admitted that temptations have arisen, especially when she spent so much time in Hollywood, a place where fleeting romances and secret affairs are all too common. But one thing has always kept her grounded. "Whenever I feel lost, I just think about Carl, our home, and the love he has for me. I wouldn't trade that for anything, not even for a second." Many might believe that an ideal husband is someone who walks alongside his wife at every grand event, sharing in the spotlight. But Carl Dean has proven otherwise. 1. He is always the first to hear her songs. Despite staying out of the public eye, Carl Dean has always been Dolly Parton's most important audience. Every time she writes a new song, she plays it for him first. Dolly once shared that she had written a deeply emotional love song, filled with heartfelt lyrics, but when she played it for Carl, he simply said, "That one's not quite right." So, she tore up the sheet music and wrote a new one. "He has great taste in music, and I trust his instincts," Dolly said. 2. He fiercely protects their privacy. Carl Dean understands that fame can destroy a relationship if not carefully managed. Instead of being drawn into the whirlwind of media attention, he chose a simple life, ensuring that nothing would interfere with their marriage. Dolly once said that even after long tours, when she returned home, Carl never let the time apart affect their love. "He would wait for me, just like he did on the very first day." 3. He doesn't love Dolly Parton, he loves Dolly. A little-known fact is that Carl Dean isn't even a fan of country music. In fact, he rarely listens to Dolly Parton songs. But that's exactly what she loves most about him. "He doesn't love Dolly Parton, he loves me, the real me," she said. And that's the most precious thing of all. When asked about the secret to their lasting happiness, Dolly Parton gave a simple answer: "We laugh together every single day." Carl Dean has a unique sense of humor, and Dolly loves the way he playfully teases her. While the world sees a dazzling country music queen, at home, Carl simply sees a woman who loves to cook, who enjoys lounging in her pajamas, and who loves joking around with her husband. "We don't live a glamorous life, we live a happy life," she shared. And perhaps that is the greatest secret to their enduring love: no need for the spotlight, no need for grand gestures, no need for extravagant parties. Just two people and a love that is pure and unwavering. In the end, the love story of Dolly Parton and Carl Dean is proof of one simple truth: true love doesn't need to be flaunted. It doesn't need public displays of affection or media statements. It simply needs to exist, steadfast, resilient, and eternal. And if anyone still wonders why they have stayed together for over 50 years without a single public appearance as a couple, perhaps the answer is as simple as this: because they never needed to. Their love was already more than enough. "She's the love of my life," Carl's devotion in his own words. More than 50 years. A steadfast marriage between one of music's biggest icons and a man who remained nearly invisible to the public eye. Throughout all those years, Carl Dean rarely spoke. He chose to stand in the background, loving and supporting Dolly Parton in his own way. But this time, when he finally decided to speak, his words were not sensational claims or dramatic confessions. They were simply the heartfelt words of a man who had spent his entire life loving one woman, a love that never needed validation yet never faded. So, what did Carl Dean say? And what moments throughout their marriage have proven the enduring strength of their love? The first words Carl Dean ever publicly spoke about his wife were not extravagant, yet they were deeply sincere. "Dolly is the love of my life. From the very first day I met her, I knew she was the woman I wanted to spend the rest of my life with." A simple declaration of love. But coming from a man who had always chosen silence, it carried a weight that was immeasurable. Carl Dean never needed grand romantic gestures. He never needed to walk the red carpet by his wife's side or profess his love in interviews. He simply needed to love her in his own way. And for more than 50 years, it was the little things he did for Dolly that proved his love was not just words. Dolly Parton once said that there were moments between them that no one else would ever know about, and that no one else needed to. That was how they kept their marriage strong, through simple yet deeply meaningful gestures. One of the rare stories Dolly has shared about her husband is his unique habit whenever she returned home from a long tour. "Every time I come home, he always has something special for me. Sometimes it's a little card, sometimes it's a dinner he cooks himself. But what I love the most is that every time I come back, he always makes sure my car is spotless. That's his way of showing he missed me, that he wanted everything to be just right when I got home." These small actions may not resemble the grand romantic gestures seen in movies, but to Dolly, they were proof that Carl loved her in the most genuine way possible. And after years of silence, when Carl Dean finally spoke, he didn't offer flowery words. He simply affirmed what the world had long understood. "Dolly is the love of my life, and I have never needed to prove that to anyone." Hollywood. When asked about Carl's love letters, Dolly Parton couldn't hide her emotions. Even after more than 50 years together, she still treasures every single letter her husband ever wrote. "I have an entire box full of his letters. Whenever I miss him, all I have to do is open it, read them again, and it feels like he's right there with me." One of the most special letters Carl ever wrote to Dolly was on their 50th wedding anniversary. Instead of throwing a lavish party, Carl simply wrote, "50 years ago, I said I love you before God. 50 years later, that love remains unchanged. If I had to choose again, I would still choose you." Those words didn't need to be spoken in front of thousands, didn't need to be printed on magazine covers or broadcast on television. They only needed to be written on a simple piece of paper and sent to the one person who mattered most to Carl, Dolly Parton. And perhaps that is what made their love so extraordinary. Carl Dean didn't need a spotlight to express his love. He only needed a sheet of paper, a pen, and the one woman in his life he vowed to write to until the very end. Carl Dean sets the record straight. One is a music icon, a living legend with an illustrious career. The other is a man who remains hidden from the limelight, almost never seen by the public. This contrast has fueled countless rumors, ranging from secret divorces to unconventional relationships, and even wild claims that Carl never existed at all. But now, after decades of silence, Carl Dean has decided to speak up. And he's not afraid to clear up even the strangest stories ever told about his marriage. As unbelievable as it sounds, one of the longest-running rumors about Dolly Parton's husband is that he simply isn't real. Because he almost never appears in public, never poses for photos with his wife, and has no social media presence, people began to ask, does Carl Dean actually exist? Some theories even suggested that Carl was a fictional character Dolly had created to craft the image of a devoted wife, or that he had passed away long ago and she was hiding the truth. Upon hearing this rumor, Carl Dean simply laughed and said, "If I don't exist, then who's been mowing the front lawn every morning?" His humor made Dolly burst into laughter, but more importantly, it was undeniable proof that Carl Dean was not only real but very much alive. He just never felt the need to prove it to the world. Another persistent rumor over the years was that their marriage had secretly ended long ago. Many assumed that a marriage without public appearances, without lavish celebrations or romantic social media posts, could not possibly be a happy one. As always, Carl Dean didn't feel the need to argue or justify anything. But in a rare moment, he made his stance clear: we don't need to prove our love to anyone. Dolly and I know we love each other, and that's all that matters. Dolly herself addressed the rumors with her signature humor: "If we were actually divorced, do you really think I could keep that a secret? I'm Dolly Parton. My divorce would be the biggest news in the country." Since Carl Dean has always stayed away from public events and never accompanied Dolly to any red carpet appearances, some even speculated that he might be romantically interested in men. This speculation made its rounds in the entertainment industry, but Dolly had the perfect response. "I don't care what people say, but I can tell you one thing: Carl is the finest man I've ever known, and I see no reason to waste time on baseless gossip." Carl himself never seemed bothered by the speculation. He never felt the need to prove anything, nor did he believe he owed anyone an explanation about his private life. Despite all the rumors, Carl Dean and Dolly Parton have stayed together for over 50 years, without grand declarations in the media, without extravagant public appearances. When asked about the secret to a lasting marriage, Carl simply said, "Let the person you love be who they are." And perhaps it was this deep respect, unwavering privacy, and genuine love that allowed them to weather every rumor, every doubt, and walk through half a century together, no matter how wild the stories got. A love that speaks for itself. For more than half a century, they never needed to stand under the spotlight to prove their love. And now, as he breaks decades of silence for the first time, Carl Dean leaves behind one final message. True love does not need to be displayed. When asked why he finally decided to speak after all these years, Carl simply smiled and said, "I have nothing to prove. But I think it's time to make this clear, I love Dolly, and I always have. Not through grand Hollywood-style love stories. Not through vows sworn before cameras. But through the way he was always by his wife's side, distant in appearance, yet never truly apart." Carl Dean was never one for the limelight. He did not attend Dolly's award ceremonies, did not accompany her to events, and was rarely seen in public photographs. But that never meant he loved her any less than any other husband would. On the contrary, he believed that real love did not need to be showcased to be meaningful. He once said, "Just because I'm not standing next to Dolly in front of a camera doesn't mean I'm not standing next to her in life." Their love was not defined by public displays but by the quiet moments of everyday life, the mornings spent sipping coffee together, the hurriedly scribbled handwritten notes, or the simple, comfortable silence of sitting side by side. Dolly Parton has always been a dazzling star, but to Carl Dean, she was more than just a legendary singer. She was the woman he loved beyond measure. "Dolly is the light of my life. I don't need a stage to see her shine." For Carl, love was never about grand gestures or poetic words. He never felt the need to prove himself as the ideal husband in the public eye, because to him, the truest testament of love was how he treated his wife behind closed doors. And to Dolly, that was more than enough. In this rare moment of openness, Carl Dean not only spoke about his love for Dolly but also left a message for everyone. There is no single blueprint for true love. Don't let anyone tell you how you should express it. What matters most is that the two people involved understand and cherish each other. Their love story may not have followed a Hollywood script, but it endured for over half a century, built on respect and unwavering sincerity. And in the end, that is what truly matters. Whether Carl Dean chooses to remain silent after this rare statement or not, one thing remains certain: his love for Dolly has never needed words to exist. After more than half a century standing in the shadow of his wife's spotlight, Carl Dean has finally spoken. Not to seek attention, but to affirm a simple yet profound truth. Love does not need to be displayed to be real. From the never-before-seen handwritten letters to the quiet yet deeply meaningful moments, he has proven that true love is not measured by public appearances but by endurance, understanding, and sincerity. And whether he continues to remain silent in the years to come or not, one thing is undeniable: their love has, does, and always will endure.